how are you how are you in relation to yourself right now when things don't go your way? Are you one that has been more complacent in the last few years where, one of my favorite comedians, Bill Maher, he's hysterical. He's like, if you haven't heard of him, he's super funny. He's like, political commentary. And he's on HBO, and, there are times where the things that he says are just, like, so funny, and he brought it up that, you know, never before have we just had just at our fingertips. We don't have to get inside of a car, right? And go to the grocery store. We don't have to go to I don't have to go to Target anymore to get things. I don't have to go aisle by aisle. I can go to Instacart. I don't have to get a birthday gift for my girlfriend. I can actually go to, Amazon.com or goodie.com or whatever and then just send the things to their homes. I don't have to go spending hours in a day, sitting in traffic. If I didn't want, I could never literally leave my house. And sure, it's progress on one hand, but are we just getting complacent and, socially isolating ourselves where we don't necessarily have to leave our home and we don't have to even have conversations with people? And so it brings me to my very first topic with all of you in how to actually strengthen and invoke good daily stress. Like, why would we want to do that? Well, to expand, to stretch ourselves so we aren't getting complacent. I think I shared in my most recent talk, was like, oh my gosh, it really was stretching me because it had been 2.5 years since I had appeared live on stage. And, there was a time where I was giving talks multiple times a month, flying to places, et cetera. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and I had, another baby and I was getting comfortable. I was getting comfortable writing my notes for lectures on the side of my screens. I was getting comfortable just wearing pajama pants and, a regular top, kind of like how I am, recording this episode for you guys and not having to put on any makeup and just rolling out of bed pretty much and just sharing my thoughts. And while that has been, that's progress on the one hand, it then started to literally scare me and my nervous system started to act up because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I have to give this talk in front of people and I have to figure out what I'm going to wear and how I'm going to present myself and how to even walk on stage again and looking at a big screen." Because for 2.5 years, I've been looking at a tiny little screen on Zoom with tiny little faces. And you could literally be staring at your green camera dot and not worry about anything. And then there's all of these other factors involved, right? And so the lead up to that was obviously, so energizing, but also so daunting and so scary all at the same time. And I bring this up because was that a stretch moment for me again? Yes. Could I have said no? Absolutely. Could I have stayed small? Absolutely. But then I wouldn't have realized and recognized that, wow, so many people resonated with that. So many people resonated with that talk of, you know what? Yeah, in the last few years, I have been playing small. In the last few years, I wasn't really going to the gym as much as I could have. I was working out on my mat, my yoga mat, and doing the same kinds of exercises, not really expanding what I could possibly expand because I would go to a gym or go to a class and then the instructor would be like, all right, 10 more push-ups or 10 more burpees. All right, you can do this. You have that extra push. And when we are stretched, we are then able to grow. It's kind of like when we are stretching our minds, when we are introducing more knowledge into our brains, we're definitely creating new neural pathways. So how are you able to do that in your life? And so the first one that I, kind of want to bring up to you is this is an easy one. How many of you are actually okay with taking a cold shower? This is a physical and a very easy way to expose yourself to good stress, right? And what are the benefits of taking a cold shower? Well, the benefits of taking a cold shower, I mean, we can go through all of the scientific benefits of why you would do that. And some of you are thinking, why would I ever want to do that? Well, wouldn't that wake you up in the morning? Like, imagine if you're rolling out of bed and getting in the shower and you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to turn it on. Can you imagine doing that for 5 seconds? All right. And some of you are like, no way, no how. Like, Ajit, there's no way. He's like, I know there's all of these, we were even thinking of getting like a cold plunge, and that's still on my like wish list. And he's like, there's no way. You'll never use it. You'll never use it. Why would you even? He's like, start doing it in the tub, like put ice in the tub. And, there's time where, I mean, this is like, during my pregnancy days, but I would literally fill a bucket of cold water. I would put my face in it, and I would submerge my face in it, and it felt so good because as a pregnant woman, you're kind of like running hot pretty much all the time. And it was great for like the swelling and, circulation, blood flow, you know, who knows, like all the other benefits and, fat loss, all of the things, right? Improved circulation and healing, et cetera, et cetera. I can go on and on and on, right? We know that's good for us. We don't like it, but then how are you feeling afterwards? Have you ever done a cold plunge before? Like those 2, 3 minutes are like excruciating, excruciating. I literally cannot put my fingers in there. I have to be like one of those where I like leave my fingers out of there and even my toes because like literally the tingly sensation, it doesn't go away. I think the most I've ever done was probably up to 2 minutes. And even that, I'm like, okay, great. But think about it yourself. Like, how would you feel after exposing yourself in a cold shower? Right. And so that's not number one, but as we get into it, this is like an example of a physical form of stress, right? Physical form of stress that, of course, would evoke a stretch zone for you because the next day, maybe it's not 3 seconds, maybe it's 5 seconds. And the next day, maybe it's not 5 seconds, maybe it's 10 seconds. And there's, the hot and cold contrast showers, of course, that you can do, 5 seconds on, 10 seconds hot, 10 seconds of cold, 30 seconds of hot, and back and forth. But how do you feel afterwards? The benefits are, well, you feel awake. You may feel like you don't even need caffeine. So it's like, it's a great thing to add to your repertoire, right? Now, what about when we are initiating a conversation at a new event or a new community or a new group that you have no idea, right? You've just gone to somebody's house and perhaps maybe you have a date or you don't have a date, but you literally are showing up by yourself. Maybe your friends are there, maybe they're not there. And instead of talking to the same 2 or 3 people that you usually talk to, how about initiating a conversation by walking up to somebody that you've never met before? And it could even be introducing yourself or walking up to somebody at a grocery store or, at a place that you haven't necessarily been to. And why I'm talking about this is, again, that complacency. Or how often are you leaving your homes, right? How often are you going to a place where you know nobody and you are building that good stress? You are creating and changing the environment that you're in to evoke that good stress so that you can be okay during those tough moments, so that you could be okay when you're asked to go to some event and nobody's going to be there, but you're like, oh, it's probably going to be a good thing. Or instead of just canceling altogether, you're getting yourself out of your comfort zone. See you next time at the Brave Table.